What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Switch Podcast. I'm your host, Keywan Humphreys. It is currently 12:40 a.m. The Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings are pretty much wrapping up. The Kings are gonna, as they dribble the clock out, the Kings beat the Warriors by 24 points. And if you didn't watch my last video, I actually had the Warriors defeating the Kings, but that did not happen. Before I dive into the Eastern Conference plan, I want to give my quick thoughts on the Western Conference. I'm not going to take too long because I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm not going to go too far in depth with the Western Conference, but I do want to speak on it. The Lakers defeated the Pelicans. It was a very close game. Zion Williamson was having the best game of his career. He had 40 points, but he ended up leaving the game in the final minutes due to an injury. There is no nobody really knows what the injury is. I'm not one to speculate, but I believe it is a hamstring. But there have been reports that Zion has been walking. There have been reports that Zion is walking around with no limp, no wrap on his leg or nothing. So hopefully he's able to play on Friday. But if you didn't watch this game, man, I feel like this was what you thought about when you think of Zion Williamson. This guy that's gonna put on these spectacular performances in these big games. His first ever postseason game, he dropped 40 points, and I believe if he didn't get injured, they would have took on that game in advance to be the 7th seed. But LeBron James and the Lakers took care of business. D'Angelo Russell hit a big three to put the Lakers up by 4 with under a minute left, and that was pretty much it for the game. Moving on to the Warriors and the Kings. The Warriors just looked outmatched the entire game. Steph Curry could not get nothing going. On the ball, if Steph Curry got the ball, they were trapping him, forcing him to get the ball out of his hands. Off the ball, they were doing a really good job of denying the ball. Klay Thompson finished with 0 points. He was bad. Klay Thompson was bad. And this looks like the end. This looks like the end of the dynasty. Klay Thompson's an unrestricted free agent. We'll see what they do with him. The Kings look good, rebounding. They dominated the glass. De'Aaron Fox had himself a game. Domantas Sabonis had himself a game. Keegan Murray had 32 points and 8 made threes. So now we're going to see Kings versus the Pelicans. I have the Pelicans if Zion's healthy because the Pelicans have dominated the Kings all through the regular season. But if Zion's not playing, I do have the Kings advancing to the playoffs as the 8th seed. But moving on to the Eastern Conference, which is what this video is about. First, the 7-8 game, the Miami Heat, the AC Miami Heat are going to Philadelphia to take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I talked about in my last video how all these games, the playoffs, is set up to be really, really fun. And there are a bunch of storylines from the past that are going to play a part into this season, even starting in the play-in. The Heat and the 76ers have a very tied history revolving Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler used to be on the 76ers, and before he was on the 76ers, before he was on the Heat, he was a member of the 76ers, and there was a whole thing where the 76ers decided to go with Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons over Jimmy Butler, and that led to Jimmy Butler leaving and joining the Miami Heat, and he ended up making 2 finals. He ended up making 2 finals as a member of the Miami Heat, and the 76ers have not made it out the second round. So this is going to be a good matchup. The season series is tied 2-2. So these two teams actually, they match up really well. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was, in my opinion, running away with the MVP, running away with his second MVP until he hurt his meniscus. And ever since he's been back, he's been really good. He's been really, really good. And I just think he's going to have a game. He's going to have a game that's going to put them in the playoffs. I don't think the Heat match up well with Joel Embiid. Bam Adebayo is a very good defender. But the way Joel plays, it doesn't really matter who you put on him. He's going to get his because he's going to go right at you. That free throw line jumper is automatic. He's not going to miss that. He's gonna force the referees to make a call. And he's a very good free throw shooter. Not to mention Tyrese Maxey has been electric this season as the new number 2 guy for the 76ers. And I think he's going to be really, really good as well because he's going to be defended by either Terry Rozier or Tyler Hero, who are not good defenders. So I'm going to go with the 76ers, and they have home court advantage. I'm going to go with the 76ers to take that game. But you never know. We know about Jimmy Butler. We know about playoff Jimmy, Super Saiyan Jimmy, whatever you want to call him, and how he absolutely elevates his game and elevates the play of his teammates in the playoffs. If we see Jimmy Butler turn the gear, turn into that playoff Jimmy that we've seen these past couple seasons, then we may have the Miami Heat advance to be the 7th seed to take on the New York Knicks. But I am going to pick the 76ers to win this game. Moving on to the 9-10 game, the number 10 Atlanta Hawks versus the number 9 Chicago Bulls in Chicago. This game is kind of weird because I feel like neither one of these teams deserve to be here. The play-in has been great. The play-in is really good for the NBA. It makes them more money. And also, the games are always, most of the time, the games are really good. And this gives us, the fans, a preview of what the playoffs are going to look like. But if I'm a Miami Heat fan or I'm a 76ers fan and my team ends up missing the playoffs to one of these two teams, I would be highly upset because the Miami Heat and Philadelphia 76ers have good records. But the Hawks and the Bulls have terrible records. They just happen to be the 9th and 10th best team in the East, so they get to be in the play-in. But me being an Atlanta native, me being an Atlanta Hawk fan, I personally love it. I personally love it because, hey, it gives my team a shot to make the playoffs. But for this game, both teams are dealing with injuries. We know about Zach LaVine, who is, he may be the best player for the Bulls. He's been out for months. He's not coming back. And we have the Hawks missing Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu, and Sadiq Bey. So that's two starters that are not going to play in this game. Jalen Johnson rolled his ankle a couple games ago, and they said he will not be available for this game. He may be back if the Hawks make the playoffs. I think with this game, it's just about what star plays the best. DeMar DeRozan or Trae Young. DeMar DeRozan has been absolutely spectacular these past couple of games, averaging 30.6 points per game, 6.6 assists, and 4.4 rebounds over his last 5 games. The last game of the season, he actually went back and forth with Jalen Brunson in the New York Knicks and almost willed his team to a win in that game. On the flip side, the Atlanta Hawks have been dealing with injuries all season. Trae Young, their best player, recently just returned from a hand injury that had him sidelined for about a month and a half. And when I look at the Hawks, I kind of say they're not as bad as their record shows. They've been, when you miss your best player for that long, you're gonna lose games. And not just that, it seems like every single starter for them has missed time except for DeJounte Murray. So there is an argument the Hawks are not as bad as their record shows, but we have to look at how the Hawks have been so far this season. So for this game, my prediction, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks simply because they know what the play-in's about. The Hawks are undefeated in the play-in. The Hawks are 3-0 in the play-in. Trae Young has always stepped up his game when it comes time to play in the play-in games, and I expect him to do it again tonight. I just feel like this is gonna be the game where Trae shows out. This is gonna be a game where Trae shows out. He always has one of those games in the playoffs, and it usually is in the play-in. We saw a couple years ago against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He had a 30-point game with double-digit assists to send the Cleveland Cavaliers home in the 8th seed game. Last season, the Hawks upset the Miami Heat in the 7th seed game to make the playoffs. And I think they're going to take care of business again tonight against the Chicago Bulls. So now that takes me to the 8th seed game between the Hawks and the Heat. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I have the Heat. The Miami Heat like I said before, like I said earlier, the Miami Heat are a way better team than the Atlanta Hawks, and I just don't know how the Hawks are gonna win this game. I don't know how the Hawks are gonna be able to stop Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier and the guys over there. So I have the Philadelphia 76ers advancing as the 7th seed and the Miami Heat advancing as the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. And that will pretty much do it. That will pretty much do it. Let me know in the comment section your reactions to the Western Conference, to the first day of the Western Conference playing, and also your predictions for the Eastern Conference playing for these first couple games. But that's all I have for y'all. Until next time, we out. Yay!